Hello everybody, I am Tom and you are watching my speculation series on Baldur's Gate 3. This video is a part 2 of the explainer series of the races of Baldur's Gate 3 that will be available in early access. These videos aren't necessarily order dependent, however if you haven't seen the previous video there's a card up for it now. Additionally there will be a link in the description and the pinned comment below. But before we begin, if you find yourself enjoying this video please leave a like, and subscribe if you're not already. But with all the YouTube promotion stuff out of the way, let's begin. Starting off with a half-elf. A half-elf, relatively obviously, has one parent that is an elf. What isn't as obvious is that the other parent is a human. Essentially always. As this is the only known union between races that can result in offspring. A dwarf and an elf, for instance, could not procreate. Not for lack of trying. I'm an idiot. In any case, half-elves, as much as they are genetically bifurcated, so too are they socially. Some half-elves choose to live with elves, where others choose to live with humans. Although not often subject to outright discrimination, they are however notably different, and must deal with all of that entails. To humans they look more like elves, and to elves they look very human. Due to this, many half-elves tend to become nomads or adventurers, or otherwise colonize with other half-elves attempting to make settlements or small towns. However, with the notable differences from each parent, also comes notable similarities. Half-elves are often ambitious and inventive, stemming from their human side, coupling this with a refined senses and patience from their elven parent. This combination is generally quite beneficial, and it usually makes fairly good ambassadors or positions where they go between humans and elves, as they have a knack for diffusing tensions in potential hostile situations due to their familiarity with both groups. Moving on now to the gameplay statistics of the half-elf. For starters, your charisma score is increased by 2, and you can choose 2 other ability scores to improve by 1. Your elven blood gives you dark vision out to 60 feet, and additionally, stemming from your elven parent, you have advantage on saving throws against being charmed, and cannot be put to sleep with magic. Finally, you gain proficiency with 2 skills of your choice. As for what classes fit well for the half-elf, anything that makes use of charisma is an obvious choice here, so sorcerer, bard, warlock, or paladin are all fantastic choices. However, since the half-elf gets a bonus to 2 ability scores of their choice, you're pretty versatile for next to any class, because you can put it in wherever you like, which makes things, as I said, versatile. Moving on now to the half-drow. Half-drow are somewhat self-explanatory. They're much like half-elves, only one parent is a drow rather than an elf. Having said that, from the latest footage we got, specifically this screenshot right here, this was from the latest video put out by Larian, either the half-drow has been dropped completely as an early access race, or more likely in my opinion, it's been moved into a sub-race of half-elf. Either way, I don't know what's happening with that, so I don't want to speculate beyond that point. So we're just going to skip over it and move straight onto the Halfling. Another race that was somewhat borrowed, quote-unquote, in theme from Tolkien, the Halfling. They're a simple but hard-working folk, most often creating farming villages in an attempt to live a quiet, peaceful life. A few, however, prefer the allure of travelling around, discovering new people and places. Halflings, when left to form their own societies, tend not to form a nobility or ruling class, instead putting the authority into the hands of elders of respected families in the hamlet. Having said this, however, when halflings live in towns or cities... I cut myself off there, there's I think a wasp in my room? Weird. Outtakes. Anyway, where was I? Having said this, however, when halflings live in towns and cities of other races, they're usually quiet and law-abiding citizens, often attempting to, as they often do among their own people, live humble lives as merchants or artisans. If you choose to play as a halfling, you get a +2 into your dexterity. Much like dwarves, your short stature means that you are slightly slower than other races, giving you a speed of 25 feet rather than the average of 30. As a halfling, you also seem to have an uncanny luck about you. When you roll a 1 on a d20 for an attack roll, an ability check, or a saving throw, you can re-roll the dice. However, you must take the second roll, even if that second roll is also a 1. Despite your short stature, you are, much like many others of your race, courageous, and you have advantage on saving throws against being frightened because of this. Additionally, because of your diminutiveness, you can move through a space occupied by any creature larger than yourself. I think the idea here being you can run through the legs of your teammates. It's kinda cool. As a halfling, you get a choice of 2 sub-races. First off, you have the Lightfoot. More prone to Wanderlust, as a Lightfoot halfling, you gain a +1 into your charisma score. Additionally, you're naturally more stealthy than the average. You can attempt to hide behind your comrades. So long as you are visually obscured by a creature at least 1 size larger than you, you may attempt to take the hide action. This ordinarily requires full cover, such as a building or behind a wall or a tree large enough to fully obscure your body. Your other choice is the Stout halfling. Sturdier than other halflings, you gain a +1 to your constitution. Additionally, much like the hardy dwarves, you have resistance to poison damage, and have advantage on saving throws for being poisoned. This is the status effect rather than the damage type. As for class choice for the Halfling, as a Lightfoot, having both dexterity and charisma helps a lot for a bard, or perhaps a warlock or paladin that uses ranged or light melee weaponry. As for the Stout Halfling, anything that wants dexterity is a fine choice here, because an added constitution is good for literally any class, so it doesn't really matter. As long as you want dexterity, it's a good choice. But with that, we're pretty much done with the common quote-unquote races, so now we're going to move on to the last two, which are a bit more exotic. I've actually gone quite in-depth into the origins and society of the Githyanki in my Mind Flayer video, which by the way you can see right here, as well as in the description. However, I'll do a brief kind of 1,000-foot overview for it here as well. The Gith are a race that evolved in the enslavement of the Illithid Empire. Due to the awakening of their psionic powers, they broke the mind control of their people and staged the largest slave revolt in history. Not only freeing themselves, but utterly breaking the Empire and their captors, and attempting, and being very close to succeeding in, the entire genocide of the Mind Flayer race. There was an offshoot of the Gith into two separate races, for want of a better term, the Githyanki and the Githzerai. The fundamental difference in their philosophies comes down to the fact that the Githyanki want to continue the genocide of the Mind Flayers, and the Githzerai recognize that going down that path will likely lead to being no better than their oppressors that they hunt. We know that the Githyanki will be playable in the game, and indeed also available in early access, yet we haven't had any evidence that the Githzerai will be. As such, I'm not going to go over the Githzerai just yet, we're just going to focus on the Yankees. Which, now I say, kind of sounds like a racial slur. In any case, I'm only going to focus on the Githyankies for this video. So, if you choose to play as a Githyanki, you get a +1 in intelligence, and you also gain a +2 in strength. You gain Decadent Mastery, which gives you access to one language of your choice, as well as proficiency in either a skill or a tool of your choice. Also with this, you gain Martial Prodigy, giving you proficiency with light and medium armor, as well as short swords, long swords, and great swords. The Gith like swords. Any variety, they'll use a sword. Finally, as a Githyanki, you also have psionic abilities. At first level, you know the Mage Hand cantrip, which creates a spectral hand to move or carry small objects or activate mechanisms outside your reach. And for you specifically, unlike the spell normally, the hand is invisible. I'm good 90% sure that this is like a gameplay allegory to represent telekinesis, so it's possible that Baldur's Gate 3 actually may do something a bit different here and give you something similar but not exactly the same as Mage Hand, but then again, hard to tell. Moving on, at level 3, with your psionics you can cast the Jump spell, which triples the range of your jump, of you or someone that you designate. And at 5th level, you can cast Misty Step, which is an instantaneous 30-foot teleport. Both Jump and Misty Step can only be used once per long rest, so use them wisely. As for class choices here, anything that needs strength is useful here, however the +1 into intelligence makes them perfect for an Eldritch Knight fighter. As the stat distribution is both perfect for the class, also incredibly rare. In fact, I think strength and intelligence is unique to the Githyanki. I could be wrong there, but I'm pretty sure that that combo is, like, specifically Githyanki. Now we only have one race left, so onto the Tieflings. Tieflings are beings of fiendish ancestry, stemming from human bloodlines. At some time in an ancient past, there was a pact made, marking the bloodline forevermore. Whether that mark is a boon or a curse is likely up to personal interpretation. Due to this diabolical heritage, many people have a natural distrust of Tieflings, and their heritage is indeed visible all across them. All Tieflings have horns of some description, whether they be straight and tall, short and spiraled, or curled like a ram's. The horns of a Tiefling mark their infernal blood, as does their 4 to 5 foot long prehensile tail. Their skin, which although can be close to human shades, is often shades of red or purple, and the eyes of a Tiefling, which are pupilless and a solid colour. Finally, the incisors of a Tiefling are extended, giving them fangs, for want of a better term. All of these physical features make for a rather intimidating visage, and due to it, they are often treated with mistrust. Also, after the recent events of the latest D&D campaign, Descent into Avernus, which we have been told is actually canon into Baldur's Gate 3, it'll be interesting, because devils literally stole a city and threw it into the 9 hells. I imagine that most people probably think far worse of Tieflings now than they did previous to that fact, so a Tiefling playthrough may be very interesting. I'm going to be intrigued to see how it goes. But if you choose to play as a Tiefling in Baldur's Gate 3 Early Access, you have the choice of multiple sub-races. I'm not sure which sub-race is going to be in there, because there's actually quite a lot. The only one we know for sure is the Asmodeus Tiefling, So for this video, I'm going to go over the Asmodeus Tiefling, and that's about it. In the description, I'll put a link to the statistics of all the other possible subraces. There is like quite a few of them. I think there's like 7 or 8 that they potentially could choose. So I'm just going to link to all the other subraces. There's a page on D&D Beyond that'll tell you out what all of them are and what Devil Lord rather they're linked to. But for the Asmodeus Tiefling, you have a +1 into Intelligence and +2 into Charisma. Plus you get Dark Vision up to 60 feet. Additionally, you gain Hellish Resistance, meaning you gain resistance to all fire damage, halving the damage taken from fire by any source. Finally, you gain Infernal Legacy, which grants you spells at certain levels. At level 1, you know the Thaumaturgy cantrip, which allows for a variety of small effects, such as amplifying your voice to 3 times its normal volume, or altering the appearance of your eyes, making them glow or sparkle however you like. At level 3, you can cast Hellish Rebuke. Specifically, you can cast Hellish Rebuke as if it's a 2nd level spell, once per long rest. Hellish Rebuke is a reaction spell. Whenever you're damaged by an enemy, you can invoke your wrath against them, and they must succeed in a dexterity saving throw, or be entirely engulfed in flames, doing 3d10 fire damage. If they succeed on the save, they still take damage, but only half as much. And then finally at level 5, you can cast Darkness once per long rest. Darkness, rather self-explanatory, but you create a sphere of total darkness that has a 15-foot radius coming from a point of your choosing. As for classes that fit well with the Tiefling, anything that makes use of Charisma, again here, is Sorcerer, Warlock, Paladin or Bard. Obviously the Warlock is an interesting choice here, as thematically it fits really well, particularly if you take a Fiendish Patron. However, the idea of a Tiefling Bard has always interested me conceptually as well. Also fits quite well in general. Bards are often quite intelligent, just role-playing wise, but the charisma is really important for a bard, and having that intelligent kind of wordsmith and trickery, it's cool. I like the theming of it. But with that, we're done. All 8 races summarized and explained. I hope you enjoyed the video, and come next week we can see all of them come to fruition, because the early access will actually release for Baldur's Gate 3 next week. But if you enjoyed this video, please consider leaving a like. If you're not subscribed already, please consider subscribing. And as always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye guys.